In this section, we look at what is broadly referred to as materials. So we start with household recycling. We have seen some aspects of this previously in this course, and we will just touch upon some additional points. It is ranked at number 55 by 2050. Reduced CO2 is 2.77 gigatons, and the cost of implementing the solutions is $366.9 billion with $71.1 billion in net savings. This is a nice picture. Look carefully on what she's wearing on her head. It's the caps of bottles of cola, beer, whatever else. The Dasanak people of Sudan are one of the more intact cultural groups in the world. Once pastoralists, they are now primarily farmers due to the loss of their native grazing lands. We talked about the indigenous land management, where we talked about how they are disenfranchised and are not able to keep ownership of the land they have tended for centuries, millennia, whatever. Traditional or not, the Dasanak women are astonishingly creative in recycling throwaways into headdresses and necklaces made from bottle caps, watch bands, and SIM cards. You can also see all kinds of stuff here. With small towns and bars springing up near the Omo River settlement, bottle caps have become abundant, so abundant that the women are beginning to sell their headdresses to visiting tourists. How about that? Okay. This is from EPA, but in the earthworld.org or whatever the website, I forgot, but I'll show the link in a minute. The benefits of recycling. Some examples: aluminum can save 95% of the energy needed to make new cans from raw materials. So if we recycle, we can save 95% of the energy, and aluminum is one of the high energy materials to produce. Recycling steel and tin cans saves 60 to 74% of the energy. Recycling paper saves about 60%. Recycling plastic and glass saves about 30%. In fact, energy saved by recycling one glass bottle will operate a 100-watt light bulb for 4 hours. That's a good way to think about it. This is from Our World in Data as well. Somehow the label went missing. This is just what we saw before. Annual municipal waste generated per capita, kilograms per capita per day. So you can see the poorer countries have lower numbers and rich countries have greater numbers, but this is also because poorer countries have much less of garbage collection than the richer countries, in addition to rich countries consuming more and producing more waste, whereas poorer countries also recycle much more just out of necessity and save stuff for reuse and recycle. So that's something to keep in mind. Just to get a sense of the kind of materials that are in the waste. So this is recycling versus incineration on energy conservation for different materials. So the blue bar is showing energy conserved by substituting secondary for virgin materials in megajoules per megagrams. And the orange line there is energy generated from municipal solid waste incineration in megajoules per megagram. So you can see paper, energy saved is obvious, energy generated is also seen. Plastic, so that's polyethylene, high density polyethylene, and so on and so forth. Glass, metal, organics, rubber. So organics include food waste, yard waste, wood waste, and so on. Rubber, including tires and other kinds, and textile, cotton and synthetic. So now more and more textile recycling is also happening. So you can see the metal recycling energy conserved is pretty massive. Okay, so this is not some just a no regret solution, but it's a very valuable solution as well. This is from the World Bank report showing global waste composition as a percentage. So lot of it is food and greens that we talked about before in terms of composting and so on, and methane recovery from landfills, etc. There is glass, wood, other materials, paper, cardboard, plastic, rubber, leather, metal, and so on. Okay, what we said before. This is just for the OECD countries, Organization of Economically Cooperating and Developing Countries. Waste, municipal waste, how it is dealt with. So landfilling is a lot of times a large fraction of it, and incineration without energy happens for a bit of it, going from 95 to 2017, and you can see that landfilling is reduced, incineration without energy recovery is reduced, but the incineration with energy recovery is not increased that much. But composting is increased and the recycling is increased as well. So for the other countries, global treatment and disposal of waste in percentages, here 33% is composting. There is sanitary landfills, unspecified landfills, incineration, controlled landfills. This is unspecified landfill here, open dump, and so on and so forth. So there is still a long way to go. As we said, high income countries recover a lot of the waste. They collect it in a systematic way. Upper middle income is also up there, but as you go to lower and low income, lower middle income and low income, the percentage of waste collection rates drop significantly, and that may of course impact the waste generated per capita as an estimate. Bad news, of course, is projected waste generation by region in millions of tons per year is expected to go up. We have seen this before. Millions of tons per year. Look at the various places, Middle East and North Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa remains very high in millions of tons of waste, especially it's expected to go up by 2050 really high. It's one has to see the assumptions made in the projections. Latin America and Caribbean not so bad, but South Asia and East Asia and Pacific are expected to go up through 2030 and 2050, which obviously is an opportunity and a challenge. So in summary, the household and industrial recycling solutions were modeled together and include metals, plastic, glass, and other materials such as rubber, textiles, and e-waste, which is toxic and is becoming bigger and bigger part of the waste collection. Paper products and organic wastes are treated in separate waste management solutions. Emissions reduction stem from avoiding emissions associated with landfilling and from substituting recycled materials for virgin feedstock. So the 1960s onwards song of reduce, reuse, and recycle is not working as perfectly as one would expect, and there are also issues of companies sometimes mislabeling material as recyclable or biodegradable, and that not being really so. With about 50% of recycled materials coming from household, if the average worldwide recycling rate increases to 65% of the total recyclable waste, household recycling could avoid 2.8 gigatons of carbon dioxide emissions by 2050. Of course, reducing landfilling is good for health, good for groundwater contamination, reducing that, good for just aesthetics and land use and so on. So obviously household recycling is an important part of drawdown.